Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and tackle the ultimate aquarium showdown to find out which system actually fits your lifestyle. Seeing a beautifully lit tank usually sparks that instant, wow, I need that in my house reaction. But stepping into the aquarium hobby means making one really fundamental choice right out of the gate. Are you going freshwater or saltwater? Today we're going to break down the hard facts, the real costs, and the daily realities of both just so you can make a super informed decision that actually works for you.
Before we get completely captivated by the beautiful fish and those glowing corals, we really need to look in the mirror and ask ourselves a crucial question. Which of these aquatic worlds are we actually prepared to manage? It is incredibly easy to get swept up in the aesthetics, but as you'll see, the environment you choose dictates exactly what your daily and weekly routine is going to look like. The stakes are pretty high here, mostly because you aren't just decorating a room, you're managing a habitat.
There's this golden rule from our sources that captures this perfectly. It says, the right option is the one you can reliably sustain week after week. So the absolute best tank isn't necessarily the most expensive one or even the prettiest one on day 1. It's the one you can consistently maintain on day 100 and day 500. Honestly, consistency is the absolute name of the game in aquarium keeping.
To really grasp this, we kind of need to reframe how we think about aquariums altogether. We have to remember that we aren't just buying furniture, we're creating a living ecosystem that requires dedicated, ongoing support. You're essentially stepping into the role of Mother Nature for a glass box in your living room. You are fully responsible for the biological management and the water chemistry control. If you treat it like a lamp that you just plug in and dust every now and then, well, you're going to run into trouble very quickly.
Section 1. The Water Chemistry Divide. So this is where the two paths really start to diverge, and it's all about how much control and precision you're willing to exercise over the invisible elements in your tank. Freshwater is generally so much more forgiving. Most setups rely on basic filtration and routine partial water changes, which makes them incredibly approachable if you're a beginner. Saltwater, on the other hand, demands strict stability. You aren't just watching the temperature, you are rigorously monitoring salinity. And if you're running a reef tank, you're also tracking alkalinity and calcium. Basically, saltwater rewards the dedicated owner who actually enjoys playing chemist and fine-tuning those specific parameters.
Section 2. Upfront and ongoing costs. When it comes to the budget, freshwater setups generally cost a lot less to start. You're looking at a few basic essentials just to establish a safe environment. You need the tank, a heater depending on the species you choose, a filter, some substrate, basic lighting, and a testing kit for the core parameters. Ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, and pH. Since many freshwater fish tolerate a wider range of conditions, once you have this foundational gear, your ongoing costs are kept relatively low.
But with saltwater, the costs really start to stack up. Beyond just the basic tank, you're looking at some specialized hardware. You might need a protein skimmer to remove organic waste before it breaks down, plus a much more advanced filtration approach. And then, think about the recurring supplies. You can't just use tap water and a basic conditioner. You're constantly buying salt mixes, conducting way more frequent testing, and often executing larger ongoing water changes. So the recurring financial commitment here is absolutely a step up.
Section 3. Workload and daily maintenance.
Let's talk about the daily reality. Just how much of your actual time is this tank going to consume? This is where your personal schedule really needs to align with your ambition. For freshwater, the workload is pretty straightforward. You check your water parameters, make sure the filter is running smoothly, do your scheduled water changes, and feed your fish carefully so you avoid excess waste. You're mostly just focusing on establishing beneficial bacteria to manage the nitrogen cycle. It's a reliable, low-stress routine that fits really well into a busy household.
Conversely, that demanding saltwater loop requires some strict diligence. Notice step 2 right here. You have to top off evaporated water with fresh water. Why? Well, because when aquarium water evaporates, the salt stays behind. If you skip this step, your tank essentially turns into overly salty soup, which can be totally disastrous for marine life. Add to that the regular testing and supplementation of water chemistry, and you've got a much more hands-on daily relationship with your ecosystem.
Section 4. Fish and visual payoff. All right, after all that hard work and chemistry, let's look at the fun part, the actual visual payoff. The aesthetic choices here are stunningly different. On one side, you're choosing a lush, planted aquascape featuring driftwood, rocks, and a really active community of freshwater fish. It's honestly like having a slice of a serene riverbed in your home. On the flip side, you have the vibrant, totally irresistible colors of a marine reef display, complete with colorful marine species and live rock. Saltwater tanks can be incredibly eye-catching, but remember, those reef displays significantly increase the equipment and maintenance demands we just talked about.
Here's a fantastic pro tip straight from the sources. Reverse engineer your setup. Seriously, don't just buy a tank and see what fits. Pick the exact fish you want first, research their specific needs, and then build the aquarium type that best supports those exact species long-term. Like the source notes, the best-looking tank is simply the one that can sustainably support its inhabitants.
But hey, what if you aren't putting this in your living room, and instead you want to bring this ecosystem into a professional workspace? An office aquarium is an amazing focal point, for sure, but it brings its own really unique set of logistical challenges that we have to address.
In an office, you really have to balance aesthetics with cold, hard practicality. I mean, all this gear, the filters, heaters, skimmers, it can add hum and vibration to a quiet workspace. And let's be honest, your coworkers probably won't appreciate listening to a loud protein skimmer all day. Because an office tank often needs to run with minimal intervention, a low-stress freshwater tank is usually safer and way easier to keep stable over long weekends. A saltwater setup can absolutely work beautifully in a professional setting, but it strictly requires a dedicated staff member or a professional service to manage the frequent monitoring it demands.
So here is your ultimate cheat sheet summarizing our explainer today. Freshwater clearly wins on having a simpler learning curve and lower initial costs, which makes it a super forgiving environment for beginners. Saltwater, however, requires a much higher maintenance level, but it arguably wins on that complex visual variety and striking marine color that so many hobbyists just find irresistible.
Ultimately, there's absolutely no wrong choice here, only the choice that doesn't fit your reality. As long as you plan your equipment to match your time and your budget, cycle the tank properly, and commit to regular water checks, either path is going to reward you. A thoughtfully maintained aquarium, whether it's a serene planted freshwater tank or a vibrant saltwater reef, will thrive and become a truly reliable focal point for your home or office.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. You've seen the chemistry, you've seen the costs, and you know the daily workloads. Based on your actual daily routine, not your ideal one, but your real one, which aquatic world are you truly ready to commit to week after week? Take a moment to really think about that before you make your first purchase. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and I hope this helps you build that incredible living ecosystem you've been dreaming of.